colors affect us energetically and emotionally and mentally. It's just that people don't know it and don't understand it. When I was younger, if I met someone, I would feel immediately their energy. And so I would immediately decide, oh my God, I really like this person. Or the opposite, be like, oh my God, I can't, like, there's something about this person. And I wasn't able to explain it. I started to tune into their energy and feel their emotions and receive messages about past events and things that I could have not possibly known about them because they hadn't told me, or if they had never been that specific about it. But I will start to feel things and just say it. Like, look, I'm feeling this. I am seeing this situation. I have this image in my mind. And I started to have people be like, oh my God, how do you know? She came to me saying, green is my favorite color. And I'm like, it's not in your chart. And the reason why you're so attracted by green right now is because you have a deep need of feeling loved and you're not feeling loved right now. And I started to go into that. She was like, oh my God. And I had never met this person before. With time, we start to accumulate a series of situations where the message that we receive is, it's not safe for you to listen to yourself, but it's safer for you to listen to others. And this is where we start to give power to other people, because it's just safer when you're young and you realize that if you listen to yourself, someone is going to get upset. Then you quickly understand that that's not something you should be doing. And as you continue to go, that becomes a habit, not listening to yourself. It's not even something you question anymore. It just becomes a habit, and it's natural for you to second guess yourself and then ask someone else to help you with something or to make a decision for you. You have people that have been ignoring their intuition for a lifetime, and they don't know how to get out of that. And then the more they listen and take action upon it, the more they feel like, oh, okay, so this is going better. So then when I listen to myself, my life actually gets better. So the more you do it, the more you get confident about it. Sometimes people just are not aware. When you're not aware, you just don't know. You cannot know what you don't know. If we're not listening to our intuition, if we're not doing the things that we want to do, everything that we do is not aligned to who we really are.
Anything that you hear in this podcast is not intended to be taken as medical advice. The thoughts and opinions you hear shared are just that, thoughts and opinions. And any action that you take based on what you hear is done at your own risk. And with that said, enjoy the show. Welcome everybody to today's episode of The Health King's Court. I'm your host, Zach the Health King. Today I have a very interesting guest to bring you. She is the founder of the Intuition Queen. She's a transformative force dedicated to guiding entrepreneurs and creative souls on a journey of empowerment, abundance, and self-discovery. She's a dynamic and creative life coach, an intuitive healer, and a gifted psychic. But most of all, she's a catalyst for profound change. She'll feel your energy field, bring it to the surface, bring all the limitations, the fears, and anything that's keeping you from becoming the most powerful and aligned version of yourself. Alchemize it so that you can finally see and tune into the abundance frequency within you. She specializes in helping entrepreneurs and creative souls break free from the chains of limitation, unleashing their true potential to thrive in both business and in life. Mara Marchesi. Mara, thank you very much for joining us.
Hi, Zach. Thank you for having me.
Did I get that intro correct? Did I get anything askew there, or was it all? What was it?
No, that was very perfect. No, perfect.
Awesome. So your whole brand, your whole business is that you are the Intuition Queen, making you a fitting show for the Health King's Court. And so let's start right there. What is intuition? A lot of people have heard the word. I don't think a lot of people know what it means or ever practice it. What does that word mean to you?
Well, intuition is your inner voice, is that feeling, that thing within you that always knows what's right or wrong for you. And it comes up in a different way for different people. But I would say that for everybody is that feeling of knowing something. And oftentimes it's something that you don't necessarily know how to explain where it comes from, but you just know that, maybe that situation is not right. That thing, it's not for you. That person is or is not for you. Unfortunately, too many of us have learned not to listen to it. And that listening to your intuition, even though oftentimes doesn't make much sense, is what takes you to the right path. And you can see the difference between intuition and fear on the way you feel. Oftentimes, when you feel restricted, it's because you're being fearful. When you feel like more expansive, that's your intuition talking.
Interesting. And so, at a baseline level, is intuition a mental process, an emotional process, a spiritual process? Where does it kind of fall into that trinity there? Or is it a combination of the above?
It's a combination of the above because you can feel it on an actual emotional level, or physical level, and then it becomes you thinking of doing something and taking action on what you've felt, what your intuition just told you to do or not do. And spiritual, yeah, I mean, I think that I wouldn't say it's a spiritual thing. It is spiritual because I think that the majority of us that talk about it do a lot of spiritual stuff, and therefore it's important for you. The trust element might seem like a spiritual thing, like trusting yourself when you feel you know something can be a very spiritual experience. So maybe we can put in that term, but it's not necessarily a spiritual experience, more like a personal inner, in something that we all have. It's just that we need to learn to use it and to listen to it.
Is there a physical element to it? Does it involve our physical vessel as well in any way?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The more you take care of yourself and the more you trust yourself, the more you can feel it. Oftentimes, if you don't take care of yourself, it's because you're not listening to what your body's telling you. You know, sometimes your intuition can be a body ache telling you stop. You know, just don't do this. Like you need to rest. And there are different forms in which your intuition can talk to you. And physical aches could be a way for your body to tell you, hey, I need a break. You know, or like even, for people that are workaholic, they keep working and working and working, and maybe they're tired, but they keep working. And then your body stops functioning somehow. That's also a way that, we're all connected. Body, mind, and spirit are all connected. And so at some point, it's going to come up in all different ways, depending on people and depending on the experience that they're having. But it's all about your intuition telling you something that maybe you need to stop doing. Oftentimes we realize because we need to stop doing something. But your intuition actually works in a lot of ways when it can help you to make amazing decisions and improve your life and move forward in your life and manifest something. But it's, again, you need to learn to listen to it and trust it.
Yeah, you definitely nailed it. It's inherently our experiences are always physical and mental and emotional and spiritual. And here, as a human being, we can't separate kind of one element from the other. And I definitely agree. I think on the physical side of things, when people talk about having a gut feeling, the gut, I feel, is probably involved very much so in kind of our intuitive forces and our intuitive health. And I think when people have a lot of gut imbalances, that kind of disrupts that second brain and that second brain's health. And perhaps that has a factor that it plays in the state of someone's intuition and their health there. But yeah, think that intuition is such an important topic and it's such a lost topic in the modern world, unfortunately, because most people have been disconnected from their intuition. And we could talk about, and we will
Yeah.
talk about all the reasons why that is. I think it is the default guiding force within us. It's built in, it's inherent, it's innate, and it's really kind of a gift from God to get us where we need to be in life. And through worldly experiences in different capacities, I think most people have had their intuition pretty much stamped out. And they've also
Yeah.
been taught not to listen to it and kind of had artificial guiding forces inundated into them that cause them to further ignore or even be kind of off put by their intuition. And it's such a shame. And I think that's why we see a lot of very lost people in life. And that's why people feel very
Yeah.
lost. And so, what would you say is the state of perhaps the average person's intuition in life? And why is it that way?
Well, from what I can see, like it feels like it's very difficult for people to listen to their intuition. The majority of people that come to me, they say, so I'm an intuitive and creative coach, and they tell me, Mara, I am not intuitive and I am not creative, and intuition and creativity go along together. And I'm like, no, you are both of those things. It's just that you don't know. Like you've learned not to repress those parts of you, and now you think that you're not intuitive. Or they would say to me, "Or my intuition works on other people." Like if it's about my kids, if it's about my partners, if it's about this, and if it's about that, I can feel it. When it comes to me, then I'm not sure I have it, and I'm like, when it comes to you, because you're more involved, then you start questioning yourself. And the reason for this is because from your environment when you grow up, from your parents, from the way you grow up, you learn very quickly if it's safe for you to listen to your intuition or not. That's one thing. And so maybe there is something happening to you when you're a child, and then you have, I don't know, your parents, your caretaker telling you, no, this is wrong. Or uh, according to our religion, this is bad. Or especially, we have it on both sides. Women should be something, men should be something else. And maybe you feel different from what society want a man or a woman or something else to be. And so you start to avoid listening to yourself, because that puts you in trouble, because someone around you might be upset, uh, whatever, maybe because you need to fit in whatever group of people that you are surrounding yourself with. And so with time, we start to accumulate a series of situations where the message that we receive is, it's not safe for you to listen to yourself, but it's safer for you to listen to others. And this is where we start to cram our intuition and we start to give power to other people, because it's just safer until you get older and maybe you start to question more and you start to release some fears, or for necessity, whatever that is. Everybody has a different experience. But when you're vulnerable, when you're young, and you realize that if you listen to yourself, someone is going to get upset. So that puts you in trouble. You don't want to be in trouble, or something happens, then you quickly understand that that's not something you should be doing. And as you continue to go, that becomes a habit, not listening to yourself. It's not even something you question anymore. It just becomes a habit, and it's natural for you to second guess yourself and then ask someone else to help you with something, or to make a decision for you. Or you even don't ask a question. Simply, you make a decision based on what you think people want you from you.
Yeah, yeah, that's such a huge component of it, I think, and something that gets instilled in a child in a lot of cases. It's a child's individuality and questioning nature kind of gets brushed aside a lot, as children are often treated as inconveniences, and a parent doesn't want to take the time to raise them in a healthy way and kind of consider their emotions and their needs and their thoughts as an individual whole human. But beyond that, and obviously there's always the possibility that that child's parents or, guardian figures themselves aren't healed people and are
Yeah.
perhaps acting out traumas that they have accrued, and are unfortunately repeating the cycle, or, casting unhealthy behaviors because of what they've experienced in life. And then I think some other factors that are important to consider are a lot of people have physical toxins that are instilled within them in all the different ways. There's so many physical toxins in today's world that a child is exposed to, perhaps before they're even born. And then when they are born, and then as a young, baby, and then infant, and then child, there's just so much toxic stuff out there that I think our bodily systems and our brain systems and our gut systems, when they are inundated with these toxins, they're kind of the physical vessel that's carrying the ability for our intuition to be carried out. And then I feel like there's a disconnect that happens there, perhaps. And then even further, I think on the mental side of things, I think children are filled with a lot of incorrect information, or incorrect or just unhealthy information, whether it's through the schooling system, through their parents and what they say. It's not a secret that the world, it's just operating in a weird way these days. Things aren't quite right.
Hmm.
And children feel this. Children know this. Children go to school and they hear what their teachers tell them, and they're like, this doesn't make sense. But then they get told, no, you must listen to the teacher. That's what's right. Put the answer on the test. Don't question your teacher. Don't talk back. And then that kind of creates a dissonance within, because their intuition is telling them, hey, what your parents are telling you, what your teachers are telling you, wait, that doesn't quite make sense. But then they just kind of get forced to go along with it. And then the only way to kind of cope with that is to start disconnecting from that intuition that's kind of sounding the alarm bells of, hey, this isn't quite right. And so it's just like an everlasting cycle that happens when a parent hasn't quite themselves found their way back to truth and back to living in an in tune way. And then their children kind of do the same. Um, what do you think about any of that? That there was a lot.
Yeah, well, if you think about the fact that a child starts to form, thoughts and everything in the first 7 years, and it's also when they start to kind of have some sort of own personality, when they start to maybe ask questions and want to do things differently, because simply, especially towards 6, 7, when they have classmates and friends, they see different things from what happens at home, and so they might want that thing. But their mother didn't do this, and their father doesn't do that, and so they start to see different things, and so they start questioning um, stuff even more than before. But that's also the first years where they absorb everything. And yeah, what you said, it's right. Whatever happens around them then becomes what they know and what they're familiar with. And so if you grew up in a dysfunctional family, dysfunction for you, it's something that you might be afraid of, but that also for you, you assume that that's what everybody is experiencing. So not a big deal, although you can tell it's something that doesn't make you feel safe or things like that. And so it's easy to get into the trap of not listening to yourself, because the survival aspect comes first. You need to find a different way to feel safe. If your environment already doesn't allow you to do that, you need to find your way to fit in a classroom, and create a group of friends. And as we move forward and we grow, where maybe we are teenagers or a little bit older, maybe you don't have that aspect that strong, because you can start to do things on your own and you can make decisions. But at the same time, there is also, society that tells you, society, family, community, that tells you, you need to study, you need to find someone, you need to create a family, you need to have a good job. And so everybody in different ways try to fit into whatever their community is telling them, society is telling them. And then when they get to a certain point, after years, they come up around. Now it's, I think, between 30 and 40 that people start to have what it's called a midlife crisis, which is not really a midlife crisis, but it's just people waking up to the fact that everything that they have been doing hasn't been really something that comes from within and what they wanted to do, but they just followed some steps that because everybody was doing that, because that's what you were supposed to be doing. And so then you have a lot of people starting questioning things, but maybe, now maybe you have a family. And so it becomes a little bit more complicated to say, well, I'm going to leave everything and go. And so it's a progression of a lot of different things that with times will get you to question, because at some point something is going to happen in your life and will get you to question where you're at.
Yeah, it's interesting to live in a society that has this comprehension that so many people experience midlife crisis, as it's so called, to the point where it is such a commonplace phrase and term, and it's even just a joke to most people. But then most people will do the same things in life that get people to having a midlife crisis and not think that it's going to happen to them. It's so it's wild, the state of not really thinking about things that unfortunately a lot of people are in. It's funny, but it's also quite unfortunate, because that's a very good way that you describe that. There is no way to go against nature. There's no way to go against your inner self and live a not fulfilling existence forever without feeling the effects of it, right? And
Yeah.
you could say like having a midlife crisis or whatever is the body's last ditch effort. It's the alarm bells. It's like, hey, you've been abusing me for so long. I can't take it anymore. I cannot take it anymore. We have to change. And that's why you see kind of people go on this overreactive kind of bender, or they do something crazy. Perhaps it's not the most healthy, and that's kind of where the joke of it comes in. But it's kind of like an overreactive attempt to right the way that they've gone wrong. But because obviously they're not necessarily in tune with themselves enough, they don't often go about it in a healthy way. But I would imagine perhaps it does happen where people kind of do have an intelligent midlife crisis or a in tune midlife crisis where perhaps they do the internal healing work and then kind of make a transformation in their life that is healthy. Is that something that you think happens within a midlife crisis? Can it be
Yeah, I personally think that right now we are in a space and time where way more people understand what's going on, and they understand that there is some sort of different way of doing it. And I think that while before, like, I don't know, even just 20 years ago, 15 years ago, people weren't so expressive about, doing healing work, or even, just my profession, your profession, weren't that much talked about. People were like, are you going to a psychologist? Are you crazy? Now it's become kind of like something normal and something that actually you should be doing, not for a lot of people, but I think there is more understanding of what it means to have someone helping you moving through whatever challenge you're facing. And so I feel that now there is this need to ask for help that is not so shamed about. There are still people and situations where, there is shame and guilt, over it, and people still think that, they just pull through and that's fine. But I think there is more openness to wanting to figure out a different way of living, figuring out how to get out of a certain situation. And so I think that the rising of people like you and me doing healing and doing coaching and helping people with their own personal transformation is becoming bigger, because people are more open in asking for help and wanting to actually change, and really wanting. I think also because they see there are more examples that are more visible to us. And so I think internet is one of the things that is helping us to see this more. Of course, there is polarity in that, but I think that now people are more open. You hear more people saying, "Oh, okay, let me have a conversation with you. Let me see," and then it's up to you. But and there is this willingness to want to change and to want to come out of that chaotic situation they feel they are in. And oftentimes it's not even that chaotic, but it's just what's going on with them on an emotional, mental level that needs to be reframed, readjusted, and healed. And then they have a different perception of what's going on in their life. And sometimes you really have to really properly make a change, because maybe you have repressed yourself for so long and so much that the only way out is for you to really come out of that kind of prison you put yourself in. But I personally think we all have our own journey, and whatever challenges and struggles we go through is because we need to go through them, because there are lessons that otherwise we wouldn't be able to understand. You can tell me everything about maybe the mistakes that you've made and what I shouldn't really do, because I could avoid the mistakes you made. And if I don't go through it, probably I will not understand it, because my way of going through something, it's going to be different from yours. And it's also going to allow me to heal parts of me that are not the same parts of you. So I think there is also that element there.
Yeah, absolutely. It is interesting, the polarity in all things. All things have their equal and opposite, right? As much as the internet and modern technology is used in some evil ways, there's also so much beauty in it, in the sense that people can get connected with yourself, with myself, with this podcast, with other podcasts, with other content out there. And of course, this has the nuance to wading through and being able to navigate through a sea of nonsense information as well. But there is so much good content out there, whether it's just talking about things in general or talking about it using different languages or different terminologies or different kind of styles and approaches. There's really something for everyone, and there is something out there that can help anyone or inspire anyone or just plant that seed in anyone to get the help that they need or help themselves in the way that they need. And yeah, everyone is having their own unique experience. But because we can connect with people all over the world now, we're not just limited to who's in our household, who's in our small town, our small community, who's at our workplace. We can kind of find our tribe and find the people that we resonate with that will validate us in the right ways and call us on our stuff in the right ways, instead of just kind of getting the luck of the draw of who you're geographically near. And so that's why I think we see a lot of people doing that inner work and making those internal shifts now. But you touched on something absolutely essential, in that everyone's experience is different. My experience is going to be different. Your experience is going to be different. Do you think that there's a difference in experience of intuition between men and women, or males and females in general, whether they're young boys and young girls? Is there a difference in the role of intuition or how it is presented and experienced?
I think the difference is that we have been told that women have intuition and men don't. And that's not true. I just think that we all have it, and the difference is only in the way you feel it, in the way you experience it, which can be different from everybody. You might be more of a someone that get messages because you see things or you feel things, you hear things. But all in all, I think we all have it. It doesn't matter your gender. It's not a gender thing. Like it's it's something innate. It's our soul talking to us. We all have a soul, and so it's for everybody. And it's just about, do you repress it or do you listen? And do you trust it? Do you listen and so you take action upon it, or you listen, you kind of know what's your message is, and you still do something different? That's the only point for me in the difference. You have people that have been ignoring their intuition for a lifetime, and they don't know how to get out of that. And the people that have been ignoring their intuition, then all of a sudden they start to listen, and then the more they listen and take action upon it, the more they feel like, oh, okay, so this is going better. So then when I listen to myself, my life actually gets better. I get what I want. I avoid stuff. And so the more you do it, the more you get confident about it. But, sometimes people just are not aware. When you're not aware, you just don't know. You cannot know what you don't know. So I think the difference is only in the way we have been told that intuition is for, it's women's kind of sense. It's for everybody. Everybody has intuition.
Yeah, I certainly think intuition is like a muscle. You have to use it or you lose
Yeah.
it. And the more you use it, you train it, you strengthen it, and then it becomes stronger. But I think a lot of people are in such a state of having an intuition that's atrophied because they've just ignored it, not used it, that it takes some serious kind of change, and it can even be painful to get it going and get it started. But yeah, the reason I ask is
Yeah.
because, like you said, it's been often thought of, or it's kind of said that women are more intuitive, or men perhaps just aren't, period, which I think is the more, incorrect side of that. I think intuition is, like you have written, linked to creativity and kind of like a fluidity and kind of like an emotional. It's kind of a bit more perhaps aligned with femininity than it is masculinity. And that's why, although I think everyone has had their intuition stamped out, perhaps that's why women often have an easier time kind of diving into their intuition because of, their innate maybe biology or physiology, and then obviously the social influences as well in the way that men and women are led to behave or even innately behave in society. But yeah, I would absolutely agree with you that it doesn't mean that men cannot experience and practice and develop very strong intuition. I think perhaps it's women might have an easier time connecting with it. That doesn't mean that men can't. And
It's about the energetics, like obviously a woman that defines herself as a woman has more feminine energy, or, and a man normally tends to stay more in their masculine energy as it's supposed to be. Not before just because that's the way we function better. We all have masculine and feminine energy, and of course, intuition, it's more of a feminine energy. But I think that because women have always been talked about as emotional, and men are the one that don't feel anything or shouldn't be really feeling emotions, then that's where the disconnect is. Men go into feminine energy when they need to. If I am working on my business, I am in my masculine energy because I need to get stuff done.
yeah.
But then when I am around people, I'm more in my feminine because I am more prone to receiving people and taking care of them, and also being taken care of. And so it really depends. And I think what has been said is like, women are like this, or they have to be like this. Men are like this and they should be like this. And if you're not those stereotypical people, then you're wrong. And the problem is that then there is a disconnection between your feminine energy and your masculine energy. And then men don't feel their intuition because they are too much in their masculine. and then never get into that feminine energy, which is normal to get into. And there are different moments in life, and during the day, depending who you're with or depending what you're doing, and you use one energy more than the other because it serves you more than the other. If I had to work on my business just being in my feminine, I probably wouldn't be doing anything, and I wouldn't be talking to you right now. Because even just when I put down that post where you found me, that was a masculine energy action. Yeah. Because I did something. I just didn't stay there thinking, okay, I wish I could be on some podcast. I'm waiting to receive. No, I need to take action. Okay. My intuition and my creative energy might be like, oh, what's the best way for you to be seen outside of your, outside of London, outside of your usual stuff, more online. Okay. So it's being on people's podcast. Oh, okay. If I don't do anything with it, this is the feminine part of myself, like it is for you as well. You are in your feminine energy in that moment. And then the moment you take action and you do whatever it is that you need to do that your intuition told you to do, then you are in your masculine energy. And then you contacted me. So you've been in your masculine and I've been in the feminine because I'm receiving your request. And we are operating masculine and feminine energy all the time. But that doesn't make us wrong or different. It's just the way it is. And I think people never talked about this in this way. And people think, oh, no, that's not for men and that's for we. No, it's just for everybody. It is the way it works. We all have those energies within us.
Exactly. And it's like you mentioned about the healthy balance in knowing when the one or the other is appropriate and being able to act with those energies, because like you said, they are both essential parts of existence. If you are not, as a man or a woman, able to tap into the masculine and the feminine when appropriate, well, then you're missing a piece of the equation that will ultimately allow for you to operate the most effectively, efficiently, and most enjoyably and successfully in this life. Because, yeah, like you said, in business, in life, in communication, in relationships, there's the time and the place for both parties to be in both energies. Like you said, you're a woman, you are acting in your feminine as your default operating system, which is obviously the most healthy and essential and important thing to do. But you have a business to run, so you must enter the world. You must go into the world and conquer it a bit and put yourself out there and kind of go, which is inherently masculine. And then still kind of bring it back to your baseline feminine of, okay, I went and I did that. And now what will I receive and how will it come to me? And you kind of have to do that dance back and forth to get anything done. You need both sides.
Yeah.
You definitely need both sides. And people have such a miscomprehension of both sides. And so most people aren't even getting their own default operating system correct. Most people aren't even getting their, aligned masculine as a male or feminine as a female energy in a healthy way, let alone having a comprehension of the alternative within them and never being able to kind of surrender to operating in that other. Or people have become inverted, on the other hand, and are operating in the alternative as their default. And that leads to a cascade of problems. There's definitely a lot going on there.
Yeah. Balance is always the best way to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you touched upon it briefly a little bit ago, and I've read it in some of your works before. But can you touch on what it means to be a channeler? What does it mean to channel things or channel messages? What does that mean to you?
It's still your intuition kind of providing you messages. And for me, that was kind of an innate thing. Since I was younger, I would feel people's energies, and I think the more empathic you are, the more this is a thing for everybody. And so when I was younger, I wasn't necessarily that much aware of what that meant. But if I met someone, I would feel immediately their energy. And so I would immediately decide, oh my God, I really like this person. Or the opposite, be like, oh my God, I can't, like, there's something about this person. And I wasn't able to explain it. So that was the beginning of me channeling energy. What I really learned for me, it came out for me when I started to do color therapy, and I started to read color charts for people. Everybody of us has. It's like if you have an astrology reading, your date of birth tells me your colors. Colors have an energy, and I'm able to give you an explanation of your tendencies, negative and positive, and how you can use your energies at the best in your life and how you can get to your life mission. And so when I started to become a coach, then I was also interested in all of those things. Colors for me have always been really important since I was a child. They would make me happy. I was always super attuned to colors, always wanted colors around me. They really just made me happy and changed my mood. But, like children like colors, so not a big deal. It's only when I started doing color therapy and I started doing readings for my friends just for the sake of it, that I started to tune into their energy and feel their emotions, and I start to feel receive messages about past events and things that I could have not possibly known about them because they hadn't told me, or if they had never been that specific about it. But I will start to feel things and just say it, like, look, I'm feeling this. It's like I am seeing this situation. I had this image in my mind. And I started to have people be like, oh my God, how do you know? And then start to share stuff. And then that's where I realized. But still, for me, it wasn't, I just didn't put all of the things together. So it was a friend of mine who was a channeler as well. And she said to me, Mara, you're psychic, you're a channeler, you feel this, you hear this. But it took me a while for me to really put myself out there and say this about myself. I used it in my practices, but I never really talked about it. And it's the way your soul communicates. And I personally think everybody can be a channeler, but again, it's as much as you're open to your intuition. I've always been extremely intuitive since I was a child, and I often went against people telling me to do something different because I felt I needed to do something like what I felt I needed to do. So a lot of people in my past, like I'm talking about 10 or 20 years ago, when I wasn't in this world and I didn't know anything about what I'm talking about now, but would be like, are you crazy? Why did we just had this conversation. I just told you should be doing this. I was like, yeah, okay. I just felt I needed to do that. And then, being confirmed that what I did actually was right for me, and so, this thing about the intuition has always been kind of acting within me. Even my mom is very intuitive. And so I was lucky not to have a mother that would be like, no, don't do this. But, it took me a while to understand. And to me, it's the way your soul communicates. So you have a lot of people that maybe communicates with animals. Animals give I just finished working with a client. She worked with me for 9 months. She came to me and she was completely lost because like we talked about, that point in life where you're like, oh my God, I don't want anything of this. And she was like, you need to help me. I feel like I am losing myself. and I don't know what to do. And I don't even know how to get out of this feeling. And so we started working together. And one of the things that I gave her to do was a meditation, or maybe we did a meditation together the first time. I don't remember. But she started to connect to her intuition. She was completely disconnected. One of the strongest people pleaser I ever met. And the moment she started to connect to herself, everything started to change. And one of the ways she connects with herself is with animals. Whenever she asks a question, now she keeps telling me, Mara, now when I need an answer, as long as I do it before I go to bed, I do what you told me. I sit down there, I lay in bed and I ask myself, okay, how do I blah, 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 blah. And then I normally visualize an animal or I dream about, and there is always an animal involved. And I told her that their animal spirits have a meaning and dreams have a meaning. And if you look them up, you can kind of figure out what is the message for you. And it's always on point. So, for people, there are different ways, and everybody has a different. So you can communicate and channel differently. The more you do it and the more you connect to it, your gift, it's going to improve. And for me, it's like I channel through colors, but I channel through words, because this is also part of my energetics. I'm here to speak about things. This is my purpose, my mission. And so I also receive a lot of information through words. Oftentimes when I work with clients, they just need to talk to me for 5 minutes. And I'm already putting all of the dots together and like making connections about their past or whatever. And I'm like, okay, so do you see this and that? And do you see how this relates to this? And they're like, oh my God, this is what I'm here for. And this is how my soul communicates to me and channels messages. But everybody has it differently.
I see. So channeling is kind of like the ability to connect to the intuition, connect to that kind of internal guidance form, and then bring it out into the physical in the form of kind of like, all right, what is the implementation? What is the message? What does this actually mean? It's kind of the deciphering and interpretation and being able to kind of lock down what those messages might be. Awesome.
Yeah. And it's also, with the higher forces, whatever the higher forces are for you, it could be God, it could be a specific God, it could be angels, it could be the universe, whatever you resonate with. A lot of people say, God did this to me, he told me this. It depends. As if you're connected to some sort of higher force, knowing that there is a force somewhere that helps you to stay connected and provides you with messages, that's where also your messages are coming from. And so you might be someone that believes in the standard God, in Christ, and that's where your messages are coming from, and you channel whatever it is, or it could be anything else. But for me, I say the universe, and I'm really connected to angels. So messages for me, but for me, it's like colors. Colors really, if I'm talking to someone and we're talking about something, then oftentimes I see colors, I see images, and I know that colors mean something. And so I have a message for the people based through the colors that I'm seeing. So it really is dependent on every person.
Interesting. And so I'd love to go into color therapy more and kind of understand. Can you give some examples of what that like looks like when you're working with someone and doing color therapy? How do you interpret certain colors that you see? Is it just the color of their aura that you're kind of feeling and sensing? Do you use any information based on kind of what colors they consciously gravitate towards? Does that mean anything? What are some examples in color therapy?
So a color therapy session, it's basically, as I said earlier, based on your date of birth. So your day, your month, the year, and the sum of all the three. So the sum of the day, say you were like, I was born on the 17th, so that would be 8 for me, and there is a color related to that. So I'll pull up your chart based on your date of birth. There are 4 different meaning for every color. You can have a color that comes up 2-3 times because depending on when you were born, and that kind of gives you every color has a specific meaning and some positive and negative tendencies. So based on what, let's say we're having a session, you're coming to me because you want to work on something specific. So I'll go through your colors. I'll look at your answers. I'll go through your colors, and I start to put down the meaning of the colors. And as I do that, I start to get information about what is it that is maybe keeping you stuck. Maybe let's say you're coming to me being like, Mara, I want to level up in my business, but I'm feeling a little bit lost. I don't know which direction to take. And there is this situation and this situation. I really cannot make myself can make a decision about it. And so I'll tune into everything that is in your chart, and I will start to feel things. And so I'll write down. I like writing things down also because there is always a lot of information coming through. And so I channel whatever is in your aura. And that information can be a specific event that happened to you years ago, 2 days ago, in a past life. And that event is still stuck in your energy. And that event is still stuck in your subconscious and still driving you in a way or in another. And so as I move through your colors, then I start to get all of those information. And when we have a session, I just let you know this is what I channeled. And people are always they can easily get to that moment, and we start talking about it. And then I start to do some, depending on the situation, healing, or simply just providing practical steps to release that energy. And sometimes I get other colors coming through because they mean something. They're not necessarily the colors in your chart, but you need to use different colors in order for you to move forward. I'm going to give you an example because probably makes more sense and it's easier to understand. But I had a client that came to me because she wanted to do a color therapy session for her brand. She wanted to know what colors to use for her branding. And we did the session, and she's a healer. And there was something that she came to me dressed in green. She had a lot of green also in the background, a lot of plants and stuff like that. And she came to me saying, green is my favorite color, so I hope green is in my chart. And I'm like, it's not in your chart. And the reason why you're so attracted by green right now is because you have a deep need of feeling loved, and you're not feeling loved right now. And I started to go into that. She was like, oh my God. And I had never met this person before. And then I started to go through her colors, and I told her, and she was like, yeah. And I remember at some point we were talking about something, and I started to see orange. I was like, look, I just think that there is a past life situation that is coming through for you. Orange is the color you need to use. She was like, I hate orange. I was like, okay, that's another reason why you should be using this color, because there is a message for you. And this message is related to the color orange. So think about it. You don't have to, but this is also related. So I made some relation to whatever was going on with her, and they made sense for her especially. And fast forward like a month afterwards, she posted this this video on Instagram going, so because my coach Mara told me that I should be using more orange, I dyed myself for my hair
wow.
orange. I'm like, oh my God.
Talk about diving
And
in.
I was like, right? I was like, you look stunning, you look amazing, you look like your energy's changed. And she said to me, look, I hated so much when you told me I needed to use more orange, and what was it related to. And I remember during the session, she's like, yeah, someone else channeled this for me, but you could tell she didn't want to work on that thing. I was like, look, if I'm the second person channeling this situation, you need to look into it, because this is the reason why you're feeling stuck. It's right there, wanting to be seen and resolved. So I understand your resistance. And that's why, when I work with this, when there is so much resistance about the topic, maybe working with the color helps you, because colors affect us energetically and emotionally and mentally. It's just that people don't know it and don't understand it. So you don't want to work on a specific topic just yet. Work with the color. So start to use the color more. Buy flowers. You wear that color. Eat that color if you can. And you will start to slowly, your energy will start to shift until you get ready to dive deeper into that topic and release that emotion, whatever that is. And so when she told me that, she was like, I did a session about that. And actually now I understand why you wanted me to do this and blah, blah, blah. So this is what normally happens when I do a session, and everybody is different. Sometimes I just, channel information related to your own personal colors, and that's it. And I just give you practical steps to move forward. Other times I see other colors popping through, because maybe your colors are not what you just need to use. You always have to tune into your colors, because that's your energy and that what brings you in alignment. But oftentimes you might need a different color because you need the qualities of that colors more in your life.
Interesting. So there's so many different excuse me. There's so many different sides and elements and areas of consideration. There's not only the kind of default innate colors that we might be born with based on when and such, but then there's also the things that we've experienced throughout life that maybe have skewed our internal presenting colors. And like you mentioned, our default colors based on when we were born, much like people look at astrology and look at the different signs and those positive and negative tendencies, even if all people can, experience and present all things, there might be some inner tendencies or inner leanings in the strengths or the weaknesses or the kind of personality traits. And then it's a dual street. It's a two-way street in that the colors that we gravitate towards can tell us things, and they can kind of give information about a person. The colors that we avoid can tell us about things that we need to work on. And then also, it's not just the colors as an informational tool, they can also be the healing tool in bringing the frequencies to us that we need. So they're not just a informational kind of measuring tool, they're also a potential kind of assistance and healing tool in it itself. So that's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And so I'm just, of course, inherently thinking about my favorite colors and my leanings towards colors as I was growing up. My favorite color was yellow. Then I disliked yellow. And then my favorite color became red. And that has always stayed. I just love red. But now I don't dislike yellow anymore either. And so I'm like trying to think about what that means, does that tell
Well,
you there?
yellow is the color of inner power, and also is the color of fear. So it depends. And red is the color of someone that is driven, but it's also a color that, if it's too activated, will take you to burnout. So it really depends. We're attracted by colors depending on what's going on in our lives.
Yeah.
Aside, like for me, my branding colors come from my color chart. But then when I did my color chart, I was like, of course, like pink and purple have been my favorite colors since I was a child. And then you add on orange, which is another color that I love. And I was like, of course, those are my colors. And it was like, and purple is the color of intuition, and pink is the color that connects the material with the spiritual. And one of my energies, one of my like my purpose is to help people to connect to themselves and then make sure they're able to express themselves on a practical level. This is what I do, and my clients tell me this is the thing I do best, because oftentimes when we talk about the spiritual stuff, some of them are a bit confusing for people, energies and all of that kind of things. And I do human design, and sometimes when I read the chart, they're like, oh my God. And I'm like, okay, hold on. This is what it means. This is one of my energies. And orange is the color of joy, and it's the color of creativity. It's the color of sexual energy. And I was like, of course, I am an intuitive and creative coach, and of course, those are my colors. I just, at the time, I didn't know I was a healer. I didn't know I was a psychic, and so the pink was like, oh, I like it, but it's like it's the color that I have twice in my chart, and it's the one that actually really helps me to connect and put all of the material and spiritual together in a way that is understandable for everybody. So this is what I'm here for. So it's everything that I am. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, so that's why oftentimes people come to me, because they want to know their colors. So they make it their brand colors, because it's your energy. And sometimes people just decide to choose one or two, or sometimes they're like, I don't want to have these colors in my brand. And that's fine too, but they do resonate with the energy that they relate to. So
Yeah, and thinking back to the example that you gave and talking about yellow and what I mentioned, I can think back and place that I liked yellow as a child, and as a child you feel like powerful, this, that, the other. And then I think as my mental health declined as a child and kind of went into a phase where I didn't feel so good, that's when that shift happened, and it just like started to disgust me as I felt a disconnection from that inner power in life and
right.
such. So,
Yeah.
Right there, it makes sense. It lines up when you're able to kind of self-analyze and kind of place what has happened in your life. And obviously, the more that you're able to be in tune and with your intuition and kind of comprehend those inner workings, the more you'll be able to make use of or kind of work with these tools. It's very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. And, sometimes I just say to clients, look, if you want a specific energy, but you don't know what color is related to, just ask yourself. In the morning, you have to have a meeting that you want to come across, I don't know, confident and whatever, but you don't know what color is related to. Just ask yourself to tell you what to wear, what's in your wardrobe, and see if it makes sense. And oftentimes my client messaged me like, oh my God, I wore this dress and it was, I don't know, yellow, and I had this meeting and oh my God, I felt so good and it went well. Sometimes it's just a little thing. And that's why for me, I know inner work is sometimes really intense and really difficult. But I don't want people to think that it's always like that. And so that's my way to help people to do inner work in a way that it's fun. Because I love fun. Like, I love having fun. I do also like to go very deep, but I think there can be space for everything. And it doesn't have to be always heavy. And, we can do the heavy stuff on one session and the next session, or maybe I give you exercises that are more fun, but still make you work on yourself and get you where you need to go. And so colors are also this way for me. The healing powers of colors is beautiful, but it also allows you to do inner work without feeling the heaviness of the work you do. Yes, things will come up. We discussed them, but the exercise that you did maybe was fun, and it triggered what needed to be triggered.
Are black and white considered colors within the realm of color therapy? Because there's controversy in like the artistic world. Are they colors? Are they just devoid of colors, or just all the colors meshed in one? Like, do they have their meanings and significance and use? Or are we talking about more of like the red, orange, blue, green, yellow, violet, blah, blah, blah?
No, they do, just not in when I do color charts. So when I do color charts, the only colors are the colors of the rainbow and gold. But they are part of color therapy, and they have their own meaning. So black is normally a color that either people that use a lot of black, or there are a lot of people that wear black all the time, and normally it's either people that feel the need to protect. Are you smiling because you're one of them?
Looks like it.
But color black is a color that normally it's either to protect your energy or not to be seen. So it depends on what's going on in your life. For example, I am super colorful. My wardrobe is extremely colorful. But when my dad passed away, the 18 months afterwards, I just could not wear any colors. I just couldn't. And so I bought a lot of black, dark green, browns, colors like this, because I felt the need to protect my energy. I didn't really want the noise outside, didn't want to be seen. I just wanted to stay with me. And as I moved out of that energy, then I started to wear colors again. It really depends on sometimes, maybe, there's something that you're afraid to show, and so you protect yourself with black. And I'm talking about people that always and only use those colors. I'm not talking about today you're wearing black.
Yeah,
it's fine. I mean, we all have black stuff and we all have white stuff. White normally is seen very much in spring and summer because the weather is better. It doesn't rain. But yeah, so if I'm doing a color chart, there is no black and there is no white. But on the bigger spectrum, yeah, all the colors are in there.
Yeah, I think I'm more on the protect my energy side of things. There's a lot of dark energy out in the public. I don't want that near me. I protect it away, But I'll also yeah, but I'll also go out in like a nice like pink shirt, salmon colored shirt, blue, purple, this, yeah. So it's definitely, like you mentioned, a difference between someone that only ever does something and maybe prefers to even, but it's always worth considering.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you mentioned the duality of things. The same behavior or the same tendency, the same leaning can have very different kind of internal processes that are bringing us towards that same behavior. And so it's always worth considering the person in totality versus just the behavior. And that's where I think a lot of people might get confused, because it's easier to kind of Google something and then, this is this. Okay, that's what's going on. Well, no, there could be a few different things. People are a bit more complex than that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So something else that you do, another area of your work, is called human design or human design work or human code, whatever the proper terminology is. And that's something that I've seen pop up in a couple different people's work and especially in these days. Can you talk about what that means? Is it correlated to the color therapy? Is it its own area of study? What is human design?
So human design is a practice that based on astrology, I Ching, the Kabbalah, and chakras, and it basically tells you how you work energetically. So there are 5 different profiles. So based on your date of birth and your time of birth, where you were born, and it basically tells you how you function from an energetic point of view What are your also negative and positive tendencies? What are the things what are the energies you need to consider? Because there are challenges and lessons in your life that you need to move through. And so for me, that was incredible. The moment I had my first human design reading, I was like, oh my God, how do you know me? And it felt like it was a confirmation of myself. I was working with a business coach at the time, and a human design session was part of it. So halfway through the program, I had this session. And at that time, you know how it is when you're starting and you create your business and you create your brand. And then I was like, oh, should I really be an intuitive and creative coach? And maybe I should be something, maybe I should call myself differently, all of those things that come to you. And I had a session with him, and it was like, oh my God, you are so creative and so intuitive. It's like all of your energy. I'm like, oh, okay. And it started telling me things. And so every profile has a different way of functioning. And for me, this is an incredible tool that combines with color therapy in a major way. And that's why I decided to go into it and become a reader, because I realized that when I combine the things, it just helps me to help my clients. First of all, for me, one of the things that it's very important is to get to know yourself right now. Too many people think they are something because of something that happened 5 years ago. So what I want them to really understand is who they are right now. What's going on right now? Who are you? Not who your people say you are. Who are you? So this is important for me. And human design helps me to help my clients also understand more things about themselves. And so to give you an example, every profile has a strategy to follow, which tells you how to get the best of your energy. So we have a tendency to follow all of the gurus, which is amazing. I think it's amazing. We have so many people giving us different ways of doing things. So we can try and see what works for us and what doesn't. But for example, what I always say, all those people that say, oh, the 5 a.m. club, because then you get more productive and you get more energy. But it's not for everybody. And maybe that's for you, but it's not for me. 5 a.m. club, waking up. The 5 a.m. club.
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Got it.
Right. So maybe it is for you, but maybe it's not for me. So what do I do to stay more productive? And so those profiles have a specific strategy they need to follow that helps them to get more energy and helps you to understand your DNA. So just to give you an example, if you are a manifestor, you are someone that is really good at starting things. You are the initiator. And so you get an idea, you start stuff, and then energetically, when you are in alignment, you're also very good at finding the right people to work with you, for you, and complete the task. You're not someone that will complete a project. Most of the time, if you are a manifestor, you are the visionary. You see the things, you put them together, you create the system, and then someone else completes the rest. And so, but if you don't know you are that kind of person, you're always going to feel like you never finish stuff, that you're supposed to stay up later to continue, to keep going. And there are 5 different so every profile has a lot of information about themselves and can help you to really understand how you function, what is the right thing that you need to do, what gives you energy, what takes energy from you, how you can be productive, how you can focus, how does your energy work. I learned for myself, I am a generator, and I learned that listening to my sacral is the most important thing for me. I get information from there and I get energy from that. And I also learned that there are when I'm lit up, I have a lot of energy and I could work for 20 hours straight. No problem. If I'm working on something that I absolutely love. But if I have to do stuff, like, for example, when you're working in corporate and they give you a project that you hate and you cannot choose, and you drag in it and you drag in it and you drag in it because you don't have the energy and I don't have the energy. So it's learning those things that help you understand how to use those energy in the best in order for you to work better, to have your business, to make sure that your business works in it better, to make sure that you have the energy for your people, and so I find it extremely fascinating and extremely helpful.
I see. So it's kind of like, again, another way of understanding ourselves in what might be our strengths, our weaknesses, or what will lead us, or what behaviors will kind of bring us the most fulfillment because we are meant to play that role, perhaps.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that because I think people are different. I don't think anybody can do and thrive in anything. Can anyone do anything? Yeah, sure. But will it actually be the right thing for them? Perhaps not, right? There's always the fluidity. There's always the being able to do other things. It's not a lock you in a box kind of concept. It's a deep comprehension of, hey, why might I be the way that I am? And when we try to fight against the way that we inherently are, we're probably not going to get the best results externally, but we're probably not going to get the best results internally either because we aren't kind of living within where we might be guided to live. And so it's kind of like these words that you're mentioning, they're archetypes, they're profiles of just kind of different types of people. And this is not a concept that is foreign to, I think, a lot of people. Everyone knows, like, hey, there's these kind of people, they're kind of like that. There's these kind of people, they are kind of like that. And so I'm interested. You mentioned, I believe, two so far. There's the manifester, there's the generator. What are the other ones that you consider?
There's the manifesting. There is a manifesting generator which is a little bit in between manifester and generator because it has some part of the manifestor, some part of the generator, and then there is the reflector and the projector. And they would work differently. And once you know how you function, then also, let's say you need to choose people to work with. You can understand that you need to, let's say you need someone for a specific task. Then you can say, oh, I need a manifestor for this, rather than, oh, I would work well with a manifesting generator for this. Your partner, if you understand your chart's partner, then also you can avoid a lot of conflict because you understand that, for example, the reflector is the one that has to make decisions, important decisions, is the kind of person that has to follow the lunar cycle, which means has to wait 28 days before making a really important decision. And so if you have a partner or a coworker, someone that in your circle that is like that, and you need them to do something, you're not going to get mad at them because they haven't responded to you in a week, or they haven't given you an answer in a week. Because what they're doing in all of those time is gathering information. And this is just their energy. And once they get to that point, they amplify everything they touch, but they have to get to that point. If you rush them, or if they rush themselves, they go against themselves, and they are in this, and they are not in alignment. And so this why for me it's really important. I am obsessed in getting to know myself and getting to understand how I function, because I believe that it helps me live my life better. And so that's why I'm obsessed to help my clients understand in themselves more, because I can help them go deeper and also sometimes quicker, because once you're like, oh my God, I didn't know I function like this. I didn't know that frustration, it's part of my energy because, for example, I'm a generator. Frustration is part of my energy. When I'm not in alignment, if I feel stuck consistently, it's because I need to change something. And knowing that, I'm like, I felt frustrated for so many years in my life, and I had no idea this was actually one of the most important information for me. The moment I feel frustrated for more than one day straight, okay, what is it not working right now? And now it's a quick change, it's a quick fix. And before I would feel stuck for and frustrated for weeks before figuring out that I needed to change something. And so it just helps you to move forward better, quicker, and also understand yourself more and get less upset with yourself, or less mad, and just really be like, oh, okay, this is my energy playing out in this way. Let me figure out what I need to do.
Awesome. So thank you for that clarification, because it sounds like the archetype word I used isn't necessarily applicable to here. It sounds like more there are the two spectrums. There's the generator manifester spectrum and then the reflector projector spectrum. And it's basically the profile of where is someone on each of those spectrums. Are they heavily leaning, or are they somewhere in the middle? And what's kind of the balance within themselves? Is that correct?
Well, you either are one profile or the other, but yes, I mean, energies can change. And so you can relate to a lot of other things, but you do definitely lean on something rather than something else.
Got it. So you're either a generator manifester or a reflector projector, you're saying?
No. So profiles are 5. So I am a generator, I'm not anything else.
Okay.
So depending on what's your chart, but you can either be a manifester or a manifesting generator, or a generator or a projector or a reflector. The manifesting generator has in the profile some qualities of the manifestor, some qualities of the generator. That's why it's called manifesting generator.
Got it. So that's just kind of the one combo one that you might.
Yeah, but it's if you're a manifesting generator, you're going to have your own personal qualities that nobody else has. It's just that, for example, for a manifesting generator, they also can initiate stuff, but they need to listen to their sacral, which is very much generator things. And so frustration can be also a theme for them. So there are things depending on that can kind of intertwine, but they have their own specificity. Even if they have energies that can be matched.
Got it. So it is an archetype kind of thing. Very cool. And where do these come from? Are those something that's kind of built into our souls? Do you think? Is that something that develops over time and is shaped by our experiences? Or is it, what is that? Or is it based on when we are born again entirely? Where do you think those?
It is based on astrology, and and things change depending on as you move forward. I think we are all striving to feel better about ourselves, which really means doing the work to figure out what are the layers that we need to release. And so the more you work on yourself, the more you feel better about yourself. And those are energies that we have within. And we can either we're living in the negative spectrum or the positive spectrum, depending on what's going on in our lives. And so if we are not in alignment, if we're not listening to our intuition, if we're not doing the things that we want to do, everything that we do is not aligned to who we really are. And so even your profile energetically might not be aligned. And if you are that kind of person that follows your truth and your purpose and your intuition and really tries the best to make decisions that are aligned to you and not others, then you probably are going to be more towards the alignment of those energies. But still, because this is about the way you function on an energetical point of view, before I learned this for myself, I was still, working towards, becoming a better person and doing my inner work. But I had no idea that in order for me to get more energy, I had to do certain things. Or, for me, one of the things that I had to learn over the time was to surrender and not feeling the need of doing constantly things, which is an energy that a generator needs to learn to do. Because when we have this burst of energy, we are go, 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 go. But then you might not have that energy. And so what do you do when you can't go, go because you don't feel you have the energy? You go crazy because you're like, oh my God, I should be doing that stuff. And you start to do things that have no meaning and that won't take you any further just because you feel the need to do. And so it's learning those things that really help you in anything in your life, because you can say, okay, now I stop because I don't have the energy. So either I figure out how do I get more energy. So I go out, for example, and go for a walk, or I do other things that, I don't know, maybe I work on things that I have to do in my home, and I clean up that drawer, which it's something that has nothing to do with my business, but it's still something I need to do. And I'm not spending energy and getting crazy because I'm not moving forward. I'm just changing the subject and the focus of my attention. And then I can go back, because maybe while I'm doing that, I get an idea. I'm like, and then I go back into the energy, go, go, go. And I'm like, okay, cool. It's just learning this about yourself.
Exactly. And that's where the practical application and the actionables are. Because a lot of people that are kind of turned off to this kind of study or this kind of work or this kind of information, they just think it's not practical. They think there's no point, there's no purpose. It's not going to help me. Oh, yeah, that's just some airy fairy stuff. But it really is an efficiency tool. It really is an effectivity tool, an effectiveness tool, and understanding not only yourself, so you can optimize your work and get done all of the things that you want to get done and need to get done on a long time period. Because like a lot of people, especially in this modern world, have kind of got that iron skull mentality and that glamorization of just push through it. And then they burn out, or they don't produce as high quality work as they could otherwise, or they certainly don't have as good a time or enjoyable or fulfilling or healthy a time as they could if they were operating within their natural ways that they need to operate. If they were paying mind to how they need to operate to maximally be effective. Like you were saying, you could work on a task, and have an iron skull and say, I'm not getting up until it's done. And that might be, 24 hours and I'm not going to stop. But you might be better off stopping, going for that walk, like you said, doing some exercise, doing some cleaning, taking a nap, just doing something, because that will allow your internal bar to recharge, or whatever it'll get, it might inspire the thought that you're waiting on. That might be the only way to inspire the thought that you were waiting on to come back and do what you need to do. And it's not, it expands from there when it's not just how we can optimize ourselves, but when we are in a role of delegating tasks, or when we're just in any social setting and social community, we can understand other people's archetype and what they have as their innate strengths and weaknesses. And then we can work with them on a personal or professional level most effectively. Because like you said, what's right for me isn't going to be right for them. What's right for them isn't going to be right for me. And we can get mad at this, or we can understand our natural differences, learn how to build a proper team based on what we need done, or work with the team that we already have. And so for someone that has enjoyed the kind of things that you talked about and is interested in learning more and is interested in checking out your content or your work, how can someone best find you? Plug your socials, your website. What's the best way for someone to learn more about Mara?
So you can find me on my website, theintuitionqueen.com, Instagram, The Intuition Queen, and on my Facebook group, Soulful Success Blueprint, where I go live 2-3 times a week, and I do specific about human design, and then one about energy of the week, and I also do some coaching about what's going on with my community, and I give tips on how to move forward, and talk about color therapy. So I do all of those things in the lives that I do in my group, and they're very specific about the topics.
Awesome. And you work with men and women?
I do, although because I started as a women coach, the majority of my clients are women, but yeah, I do work with men as well.
Awesome.
I've changed through time, and I became for everybody, because at the end of the day, everybody needs help, and everybody can find those information useful.
Yeah, that's absolutely important. I think perhaps it might be your experience as well that more women are inherently interested in things like this, or, take the time to look into things like this. But I think that is also changing. I think more men are understanding the importance.
Yeah. Well, for me personally, it was just the easiest thing. Also, because talking about, spirituality, color therapy, I found the men that I met at the beginning were kind of challenging for me. And, when you just starting, you're already not feeling secure within yourself and how your knowledge and all of that. And I just found that more women were into those things. And as I moved on, I actually connected with a lot of men that were super interested. And so I was like, okay, now there is time for me to open up to everybody, because I got to a point where I feel, I know enough, and I can actually help more people. And so I opened up to everybody.
Awesome. Love it. Well, thank you for helping my fellow men out there, because a lot of us need help for sure.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Mara, what would you like to leave our listeners and viewers off with? Is there any take-home message that you'd really like to be the last thing that our listeners and viewers hear?
Yeah. So I know it's difficult at times to think that you can live a life in your own terms, but don't get there with your mind without trying to do something, without getting someone to help you and guide you towards what it means for you to be yourself. The best way to live your life is to find your own truth. And it's not as scary as it might seem. And don't let other people's fear get in the way of what you feel called to do for yourself. And of course, listen to your intuition.
Beautiful take-home message. Mara, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Zach.
I love topics like intuition and color therapy because they're examples of things that are accessible to anyone and everybody, really. We all have the capacity for intuition inside of us, at least those of us that have souls remaining. And colors are all around us. And so that could be as simple as consciously choosing which colors to interact with and engage with and surround ourselves with in our day-to-day existence. And it's just a great example of we have what we need inside of us and around us. We don't need crazy expensive therapies or interventions all the time to really do some powerful internal work and some powerful healing. So really interesting conversation that we had today. Thank you very much to Mara for coming on the show. Really appreciate the conversation and the topics that we were able to cover. Be sure to check out her links and information in the description of this episode, wherever you're watching it. Please subscribe to the channel, give this episode a like if you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for more. I got plenty more episodes coming your way. You can check out my content on the different platforms by going to zachthehealthking.com. And if you or someone you know is interested in appearing on the show to talk about a topic of holistic health or esoteric ancient wisdom, do give me an email at zachthehealthking@gmail.com. You're listening to the Health King's Court. Ancient wisdom, modern health.